Hello everyone, my name is Vladimir and I work for SYSTRONICS in software development department. As already mentioned, today I am going to introduce you the AR/AP settlements product by SYSTRONICS. In the course of business, it happens so that you both buy from and sell to the same entity, which means that the same entity is both a customer and a vendor for you. Currently, in SAGE 300, we have to define a separate customer and a separate vendor, and the application does not provide a way to link one to another. As a result, we have to deal with their documents such as invoices, debit or credit notes, receipts, etc. separately, as if they are not connected anyway. Hence, the user might keep the records about such entities separately and spend a lot of time to settle their documents. AR/AP settlements allows us to link customers and vendors and settle their transactions against each other. Moreover, it allows us to check a cumulative balance of the entity by adding the transaction balances of all linked vendors and customers' documents. Now let's see how the application actually works. One of the key concepts of AR/AP settlements is the settlements group. Using the settlements groups, we can link customers and vendors together. For example, in the sample company database, the group number 5 is created so that one customer is linked to 3 vendors. In group 6, we see that 3 different customers are linked with 3 different vendors. What is important here to note is that the customers and vendors can have different currencies, and their documents can still be settled against each other. AR/AP settlements allows us to have one-sided groups, which means that we can have only vendors in one group or only customers in one group. This means that we can settle the documents of one vendor or customer with the documents of another vendor or customer. The documents of linked customers and vendors are settled by creating and posting settlement entries. Let's go to the settlement entry screen and create one. So the first step, we should choose the settlement group for which we are going to enter the settlement. In the Receivables tab, we can see all the open documents of the customers which are belonging to a selected group. You might recall that we had only one customer in group number 5. In the Payables tab, we can see all the open documents of the vendors belonging to the group number 5. Again, you might recall that we had 3 vendors there, and here are all the open documents of those vendors. There are 3 ways to settle the documents in the settlement group. The first way is manually. When settling documents manually, we select which document we want to be settled on one side. For example, in Receivables side, let's take this invoice. I want you to pay attention to the knockoff amount, which is actually the settlement amount, and it is by default the payment balance. However, we can change it as we want. And also pay attention to unallocated amount, which is the total of all the selected documents here. This document is in USD currency, and the system converted it to the functional currency, and that's why the total unallocated amount is shown in CAD. And when we choose another document, we see that the unallocated amount total is being changed. So, selecting the documents to be settled in one side, now we should go to the other side and choose the documents against which we want to settle already selected ones. And as we select the documents, we see that unallocated amount is decreasing, which means it is being distributed to the documents which are being selected here. As we add and post the entry, adjustment transactions will be created in accounts receivable and accounts payable modules. Let's go and check what kind of transactions have been created. In accounts receivables adjustment batch list, we see that there is a batch which has been created by AR/AP settlements, and in this batch, for each document that we have settled in AR and AP settlements, it has created separate entries with their document numbers and with corresponding knockoff amount, which was the settlement amount. The same has been done in AP transactions. Here also we see that a batch was generated by AO with entries for each document in it. Again, for the amount which were settled. So this was the first way to create a settlement entry. The second way is by using auto-apply function, which is considered as semi-automated. So again, the first step is choosing the group. We should select the documents on one side, and on the other side, instead of choosing manually, we should check this box, choose the criteria based on which we want the system to take the documents to be settled. For example, let's take due date and press due button. So the unallocated amount was distributed to the documents which has earliest due date. Again, we pause this transaction and adjustment entries will be created in both accounts receivables and accounts payables module. And the third way to settle documents is by using automatic settlement function. Let's create a new one. As usual, the first step is to choose the settlement group. When we click the automatic settlement button, the application calculates total receivables and total payables in the settlement group, settles completely the one which is less, and then settles selected documents on the other side. So this was the warning about what will happen if we proceed with this option. Okay, so we can see that our payables tab were less because all the documents which have now zero balance have been automatically settled. And on the other side, on the receivables side, we have 3 documents settled. As a result, the unallocated amount is 0. So the entire amount of the payable settlement is then distributed to receivable documents until the amount becomes 0. Again, as we pause this transaction, adjustment entries will be created in AR and AP modules. After creating a settlement entry, we can print the settlement form document to see which documents were settled. We can see the settled documents on both sides. We can use this document to send it to our business partner to let them know which of their documents were settled against each other, or this document can be used to submit to the authorized person for approval. So here are all the settled documents from receivable side are visible, and from the payable side also. The total of settled amounts. And if the document is printed for an entry that has not been posted yet, we can see the draft word here. Starting from version 2017G, we can also choose to create receipts and payments for those documents in the group that were not settled or were settled partially. When we select this checkbox, we then define the bank for AR receipt, the currency of it, and the bank for AP payment and the currency of it. We have all our payables settled, and we have just 3 documents from the receivables settled. So when we post this entry, by choosing this function, we will have AR receipts created for the unsettled customer transactions. Let's go and see what kind of receipts will be created in AR. Receipts posting sequence 35 completed. Okay, in AR transactions receipt batch list, we see a batch generated by AO. Which is created for the documents which were not settled or settled partially in our settlement entry. It is worth mentioning that we don't have to create settlement entry manually every time. Starting from version 2017G, we can create settlement batches for all the groups or for a range of groups. And the create receipt payment for the remaining balance function is also there. Another benefit of using AR/AP settlements is that we can see the total payables and total receivables balances of settlement groups when we are creating AR receipts and AP payments. In AO, we have slightly customized screens of the receipt entry and payment entry transactions. We can see that this screen is the familiar AR receipt entry screen with a small addition in the upper right corner. As we select the customer, here we can see the information about to what settlement group this customer belongs to. And we can also see what is the payables balance of all the vendors in the same settlement. 10,000. The same is applicable for AP payment entry. Here also we can see to which settlement group this particular vendor is belonging to, and the customer's receivables balance in the same settlement group, which is approximately 51,000. I would also like to invite your attention to AR/AP settlements, reports, and inquiries. We can check overall group balance by printing settlement group statement. So here we can see all the totals of receivables and all the totals of vendors of each and every group. For example, in group 6 we can observe that the total of receivables is 51,000, which was also visible in AP payment screen, and the total of receivables the total of payables is 10,000, which we have observed in AR receipt entry screen. The total of group is there also, and we have here the report total. Alternatively, we can use AR/AP inquiry screen to check what is the balance of customers and vendors in a group. So here we can see all the customers and vendors of the group with their total amounts, and when we click on a customer, we can see all the open documents of that particular customer with its corresponding information. The same is working for vendors too. Here are all the open documents of this vendor with their corresponding information. The last report I would like to show you is the audit report. We can print the audit report to see what were the transactions sent to AR and AP modules from AR/AP settlements module. In this report, we can see AO badge and the corresponding badge created in Accounts Receivable and Account Payment module. This is the last settlement entry that we have created together. These are the application to which transactions were set with their amounts. And if during the settlement entry receipts or payments were created, we can also see the details about the receipts and payments. And also, starting from the version 2019 age, we can use the global search to find AO settlement groups and AO settlement entries. To find AO settlement groups, the following fields are used: settlement group and description. To find AO settlement entries, the following fields are used: transaction number, settlement group, batch number, entry number, reference, and description. Please also note that starting from version 2018, AR AP settlement also has web screens. I will just show you how the settlement entry looks like. We can enter the settlement entries and also use all the other screens from the web. So this is the settlement entry web screen. And all the other screens that we have in desktop. So this was all I wanted to show you today. Thank you for your attendance.